A bankrupt millionaire adopts a filthy homeless girl. People mocked him. But then, she opened her mouth. And what came out changed everything. Before starting the story, make sure to subscribe the channel so that you don't miss any update in future. He stood in the rain, soaked, shivering. Wallet? Empty. Bank account? Frozen. Pride? Barely breathing. Armin Singh, once the name behind luxury apartments, fast cars, elite parties. Now, just a man with a broken umbrella, watching a little girl beg for leftover fries outside a roadside stall. People whispered, "That's him, right? That real estate guy who went broke." He heard it. He always did. But that day, he didn't care. Because his eyes weren't on them. They were on her. A tiny, barefoot girl in torn clothes, holding a plastic bottle like it was gold. No parents. No nameplate. Just eyes. Eyes that didn't blink in fear, they burned. She looked at him. Straight. No begging. No drama. Just quiet challenge. And in that frozen second, something snapped inside him. He walked toward her. Everyone around just stopped. "Bye. You peggle Hogaya hi," someone muttered. And Armin? He bent down on one knee. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't flinch. "Zoya," she said. One word. One bullet. That was all he needed. He stood up, took off his coat, wrapped it around her tiny body, and said loud enough for the crowd to hear, "She's coming home with me." Gasps. Whispers. Laughter. Home? What home? Bye. You live in a single-room flat now. You can't even feed yourself. He knew what they meant. He hadn't eaten properly in 2 days. He couldn't even afford school fees for his own nephew. But somehow, he felt this girl was something else. Something no one else could see. Not even himself yet. He took her hand. She didn't resist. She didn't ask questions. She just followed. Like she had been waiting for this moment. For someone to just say, "Let's go home." That night, the room was cold. A mattress. A flickering bulb. One half-eaten packet of biscuits. Armin gave her the blanket. She stared at the walls. Then at him. "You're not like the others," she said quietly. "Why?" he asked. She paused, then whispered, "Because you looked at me like I exist." Next morning, he woke up early. She was already awake. Studying a physics textbook he hadn't touched in years. He rubbed his eyes. "Where did you get that?" She pointed to a trash pile outside. "I picked it last week." It had pages missing. I remembered most of them. He blinked. "You mean, you memorized the parts that were missing?" She nodded, then casually solved a problem on a napkin. He leaned in, looked at the equation. His mind spun. "Wait, that's advanced level calculus." She shrugged. "Is that what it's called?" He started testing her. Multiplication? She was lightning fast. Reading? She'd consumed newspapers in 3 languages. Logic puzzles? She solved them like games. The more he tested, the more stunned he became. This wasn't street smart. This was genius. Raw, untouched, wild. She had no schooling, no exposure. But she had a mind built like a machine. And no one knew. Because everyone had been too busy laughing. That night, he sat alone. Thinking, "What if," he murmured. "What if this girl isn't just someone I rescued? What if she's the one, here to rescue me?" But outside his broken window, someone was watching. A man in a black coat, taking photos. And he wasn't from the media. Zoya stared at the ceiling fan like it held secrets only she could hear. Armin was pacing again. His mind couldn't rest, not after what he'd seen. It had only been 3 days since he brought her home. 3 days since strangers mocked him, some even spit near his feet. 3 days of cold rice, broken sleep, and borrowed Wi-Fi from the neighbor's unlocked connection. But in these same 3 days, Zoya had solved puzzles that baffled engineering graduates. She asked questions about atoms, frequencies, and algorithms that sent Armin back to Google every time. She didn't speak much, but when she did, it felt like gravity paused to listen. "Do you know how old light is?" she asked once, holding a cracked mirror. He had no idea what to say. "It never dies," she whispered. "It just travels, waiting for someone to notice." That sentence haunted him for hours. That and the fact that someone was watching them. Not imaginary. Real. That man in the black coat. The camera lens. The click. Every time Armin stepped out to find cheap groceries or look for a freelance gig, he felt it. Eyes. Quiet. Cold. Constant. But why? What did they want with him? He had nothing. And Zoya, she was just a girl from the streets. Right? Or maybe not. Armin sat down that night, pulling out an old laptop that barely turned on. Zoya looked over his shoulder. "Your passwords are weak," she said. He raised an eyebrow. "You hacked my laptop?" She blinked, dead serious. "I didn't hack. I guessed." "How?" "You use your sister's name." "Everyone does." He chuckled nervously. "Okay, hacker girl." She looked back at the screen. "Why are you searching for adoption laws?" Armin paused. "Because I don't want anyone taking you away." Zoya went silent. Her hands stopped fidgeting. Her face lost color. Then, in the softest voice he'd ever heard, she asked, "Even if they say I'm broken?" He looked at her, not at the dust on her cheeks, not at the cuts on her fingers, but at her soul bleeding through that one question. He didn't blink. "You're not broken. The world is." She didn't cry. She just nodded like a soldier given orders. The next morning, Armin returned with 2 packets of milk, some eggs, and a half-priced loaf of bread. Zoya wasn't in the room. "Zoya," he called. No answer. He dropped the groceries and ran down the stairs, panic building like a tsunami in his chest. "Zoya." He turned every corner, shouted her name through the alleyways, scanned every tea stall, every garbage dump she might have wandered near. His thoughts spiraled. Had someone taken her? That man in the coat? The authorities? A gang? But just as his knees were about to give in, he heard a quiet hum. Faint, but real. He followed the sound and found her, sitting on the floor of a tiny garage behind their building, surrounded by wires, rusted metal scraps, and an old radio. "Zoya," he started. "Shh," she whispered, twisting copper into a coil. "I'm fixing the signal." "For what?" "The voice. The man on the radio keeps repeating the same numbers." "I think it's a code." He was speechless. She had built a frequency catcher out of junk. No schooling. No training. Just instinct. "You can't just disappear like that," he said, trying to calm his heart. "I left a note," she replied. He checked his pocket. She had slipped in a crumpled paper that said, "Gone to find silence. I'll bring back noise." He didn't know whether to laugh or collapse. "You're gonna give me a heart attack," he said, sitting beside her. "You already had one," she replied, not looking up. "You just never told anyone." He froze. How did she? "Your left hand twitches when you're anxious. You wince when you climb stairs. And I saw the pillbox under your bed. Beta blockers. Heart meds." She wasn't guessing. She was observing. Calculating. Absorbing. He was no longer scared for her. He was a little scared of her. That night, Armin couldn't sleep. He kept turning her words over and over in his head. Each syllable felt like a clue in a puzzle he hadn't even realized he was part of. The next day, he took her to an old friend. A professor from back when Armin was rich, connected, and respected. Dr. Mara was a strict woman with sharp glasses and sharper opinions. "You want me to test a homeless girl's IQ?" she scoffed. "She's not just a homeless girl," Armin said. "She's..." But Zoya cut him off. "I'm not here to impress you. I'm here to prove him right." The professor narrowed her eyes. "Sit." What followed was silence. The kind of silence that falls when greatness enters unnoticed. Within 20 minutes, the professor's hands were shaking. Within 30, she had called 2 more colleagues. Within an hour, she had tears in her eyes. "She's a polymath," she whispered. "Do you know what that means?" Armin didn't. He was too stunned. "It means her brain isn't wired like ours. She doesn't just learn. She absorbs. She doesn't need repetition. Her retention is near photographic. Her reasoning? Off the charts." Then came the sentence that changed everything. If she had been born into money, she'd be a Nobel nominee by now. But just as Armin let out a breath of pride, his phone vibrated. Unknown number. He picked it up, and a voice cold and calculated said, "You don't know what she is. But we do. Stop now or she disappears again, this time, for good." The line went dead. He looked at Zoya. She was still calmly solving equations on the whiteboard. She had no idea that the world had just noticed her. And not everyone was happy. Zoya couldn't sleep that night. She lay flat on the floor, eyes fixed to the cracked ceiling like it would peel away and reveal answers. But no answers came. Only the echo of the professor's words. Polymath. Genius. Nobel nominee. Big words. Loud words. Words that people used when they wanted to cage you in a lab or display you like a trophy. She didn't like them. Armin sat silently in the corner, staring at his phone. The screen was blank, but his mind wasn't. That voice, that warning. You don't know what she is. What was she? A few weeks ago, she was just a girl in a garbage-strewn alley, licking ketchup off discarded sandwich wrappers. And now, they were being watched. He didn't tell her about the call. Not yet. She had too much light in her. He didn't want to dim it. But he did bolt the door 3 times that night. At 3:14 a.m., Zoya whispered, "You're not sleeping either." He looked up. "How do you know?" "You're breathing like someone counting threats." He smiled sadly. "And you're listening like someone who's lived among them." She didn't answer, just turned over and closed her eyes again. But sleep never came. The next morning, the world looked brighter than it should. That kind of suspicious brightness, like a cover-up over a crime scene. Armin took her to the park. They sat near the kids' swings. Zoya didn't swing. She just watched. "Why don't you go?" he asked. She shrugged. "I don't remember how." He watched her closely. "You remember quantum sequences, but not how to swing?" She smiled faintly. Some things weren't meant to be remembered. The breeze picked up. With it, a strange silence. Then a woman appeared. Black sunglasses, high heels, a file clutched under her arm like it held a nuclear code. She walked straight toward them. Armin stood up, instincts flaring. "Mr. Singh," she said without emotion. "Can we talk?" Zoya tensed. Her eyes locked on the file. She knew that kind of paper. Government paper. "Who are you?" Armin asked. "I work with Child Intelligence Research, Division 4. My name isn't important." Zoya spoke before Armin could. "You're here because of me." The woman tilted her head, surprised. "You catch on quick." "I always do." The woman handed Armin the file. It had Zoya's name on it. Not just her name. Her photo. Age. Blood type. Neural scans. Notes. Observations. She was part of a confidential program, the woman said. 7 years ago. A pilot experiment. IQ stimulation in infants. The project was shut down. All records sealed. Armin's voice cracked. "You're saying she was built?" "No one is built," the woman replied. "But sometimes minds are awakened before the world is ready." Zoya stayed quiet. Her whole body was still, except her hands. They were shaking. She didn't remember this. Or maybe she had blocked it. The woman leaned closer. "She's not safe here. Not from the people looking for her. And not from herself." "What do you mean?" Armin asked. "She's a prodigy with no guardrails. Do you know what happens when a genius child breaks? They don't cry. They destroy." Zoya stood up. Her eyes were ice now. "Don't speak like I'm not here." The woman turned, unfazed. "You were lost. We found you. Don't run again." Zoya stepped forward. If you ever really found me, you would have come before he did. She pointed at Armin. And that one sentence, so simple, so raw, punched the woman in the gut. Without another word, she walked away. Zoya sat down. Armin opened the file again. Inside, beneath the printed records, was a sketch drawn by a child's hand. It was a picture of a tall man with glasses and a girl holding a balloon. Under it was written, "My future. If they let me go." Armin held back tears. "Do you remember drawing this?" She shook her head. "But I remember wanting it." Later that evening, Armin made a decision. They had to leave the city. He started packing what little they had. A few books, some clothes, Zoya's radio device. She didn't ask questions. She just helped, as if she already knew. At midnight, they boarded a bus with no destination. Just a ticket and a seat near the back. Zoya leaned her head against the window. "I feel like I'm being reset," she said. "What do you mean?" "Like I'm a machine, and someone's trying to reboot me." He looked at her, heartbreaking. "You're not a machine." "I know," she said softly. "Because machines don't cry when no one's watching." Outside, the city lights faded. The road stretched ahead, long, uncertain, terrifying. But inside the dim bus, under flickering bulbs and quiet breaths, something warm bloomed. Safety. For now. But even in that moment of calm, neither of them saw the man 2 rows behind them. The same black coat. The same cold camera. And this time, he wasn't just watching. He was waiting. The bus rattled down the highway, chewing miles like it was trying to outrun the past. Zoya watched the trees blur into green streaks. Her hand rested on Armin's coat sleeve. Not holding it. Just anchored. Like if she let go, she'd vanish again. Armin didn't sleep. Couldn't. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the file. Her name. Her data. Her sketch. A child-drawn future, with hope she was never allowed to keep. He looked around the bus. Old couples dozing. A man snoring near the window. A mother feeding her baby in hushed lullabies. And 2 rows behind them, black coat. Not moving. Not sleeping. Just watching. Zoya didn't say anything, but Armin knew she saw him too. "He's been following us since Delhi," she said quietly. "How do you know?" "I remembered his shoes." He blinked. "His shoes?" She nodded. Size 10. Left sole cracked in a diagonal pattern. Same as the man near our building last week. He stared at her. "You don't forget anything, do you?" "Not what matters," she replied. At the next station, Armin stood up. He walked past the man slowly, his heart pounding so hard he thought the whole bus could hear it. The man looked at him. Blank face. Calm. Too calm. "You need something?" the man asked. Armin smiled faintly. "Yeah. Space." "Take a seat," the man said, voice flat. "While you still have a choice." That one sentence told Armin everything he needed. This wasn't coincidence. This was surveillance. He walked back to Zoya, whispered, "At the next stop, we get off." Fast. She didn't hesitate. When the bus hissed to a halt at a dusty roadside dhaba, they slipped through the crowd. Not running. Not walking slow enough to draw attention. Just moving. They ducked behind a chai stall, past a row of empty crates, and into a narrow trail leading to the jungle behind the highway. 20 minutes in, Armin finally breathed. Zoya didn't speak. She was listening. Always listening. Birds. Wind. Footsteps. Then suddenly, she stopped. "What is it?" he asked. She pointed up. A drone. Tiny. Silent. Almost invisible against the sun. "They're tracking us," she said. Armin looked up. "How is this happening? Who the hell are these people?" Zoya didn't answer. But her eyes, they weren't confused. They were remembering. That night, in an abandoned temple outside the village, Armin finally asked the question he'd been avoiding. "Do you know them?" She didn't look at him. Just traced her finger along the cracked stone floor. I don't know names, she said. But I remember walls. White ones, cold ones, and light that never turned off. He felt sick. They kept you somewhere. She nodded. They called it a lab, but it felt like a zoo. She paused. There were others like me. Armin froze. Others, they tested us, timed us, scanned our dreams. His voice trembled. Did they hurt you? She looked at him for the first time. They didn't need to. They just watched while the world forgot we were missing. Armin clenched his fists. How old were you? 5, she whispered. His heart broke. Again. How did you escape? I didn't. He looked at her. She continued. One day, everything just stopped. No doctors. No food. No lights. Just silence. I waited. Then I ran. No one followed. Until now. She nodded. A storm was coming, and she'd known it longer than he had. The next day, they walked to the nearby town, pretending to be cousins. Found a cheap room above a mechanic's shop. Paid cash. Zoya refused to go to school. She said she didn't want to answer questions from people who only knew how to grade paper. Instead, she spent hours building things. Wires, metal, broken gadgets turned into sensors, transmitters, jammers. One evening, Armin entered the room and saw something strange. Zoya had built a hologram. Not full color, not perfect, but moving. It was a face. Her own, but younger, sadder. What is this? He asked. I'm trying to remember myself. He didn't understand. She tapped the projection. They took years from me. If I can rebuild them, maybe I'll know who I was supposed to be. He wanted to say something comforting, but sometimes there are no words big enough to hold someone's pain. That night, the power went out. The entire street lost electricity, but only their room door creaked open. No footsteps, no knock, just creak. Armin grabbed the small crowbar he kept under the mattress. Zoya stood behind him. They held their breath. Then a soft whisper from the shadows. Don't run anymore. A flashlight flicked on. The man from the bus. Armin lunged forward, crowbar raised. But the man raised his hand not in defense. In surrender. I'm not here to hurt her, he said. Then why have you been stalking us? Armin shouted. I was protecting her. From who? The man stepped into the light. He looked older now. Tired. Human. From the ones who built her. Zoya stepped forward. Then who built you? The man smiled sadly. Someone who died trying to protect you. She narrowed her eyes. What was her name? Dr. Nina Roy, he said quietly. Your mother. The room went silent. Zoya stared at him like he had just broken a wall inside her mind. I don't remember. He nodded. You were drugged, monitored, modified. She tried to stop it. They erased her. But I got away. Armin couldn't speak. Zoya looked like she was unraveling. I don't believe you, she said. You don't have to, the man whispered. But they're coming again. And this time, they won't stop. Before they could react, a sound echoed outside. Boots. Engines. Voices. The man looked at Armin. You have 10 seconds. Then he tossed a black flash drive onto the floor. Everything's on this. What they did. What they're planning. Where she really came from. He slipped out through the back window just as the door burst open. Zoya clutched the flash drive. Armin pulled her close. And, just like that, the chase began again. They ran. Not out of fear, that ship had sailed. They ran because now they were holding something the world didn't want them to see. The flash drive was small, but heavy in the hand. Not by weight, by memory. By everything it threatened to reveal. They ducked into an alley behind the mechanic's shop, breath caught in their throats, as black vans swept past the main road, like sharks smelling blood. Armin pulled Zoya into a basement garage, lit only by one flickering bulb and the smell of burnt oil. You okay? He asked, scanning her face. Zoya didn't answer. She was holding the flash drive like it was a newborn. "I have to know," she whispered. "Now?" "Yes," she said. "Before they erase it. Before they erase me again." Armin hesitated, then pulled out the laptop, the same half-broken one they'd been surviving on. It took 5 minutes to boot, 3 more to read the flash drive. And when the first file opened, the world changed. Videos. Dozens of them. A woman with warm eyes, curly hair, and soft hands holding a tiny child wrapped in wires and sensors. "She's different," the woman said in the video, voice trembling. "Not broken. Not dangerous. Just too bright for this world." Armin felt his stomach twist. Zoya didn't blink. She leaned closer to the screen, her fingers tracing the woman's face. "She knew me," she murmured. "Her name was Dr. Nina Roy," Armin said. "The man said she was your mother." Zoya was still. Too still. Another video autoplayed. The same woman. This time yelling. "You can't treat them like lab rats. They're children." "She's my daughter." Another voice, off camera. "You signed the contract, Nina." "She's ours now." Zoya flinched like someone had slapped her. "She tried," she whispered. "She tried to save me." And then the final clip. Grainy. Security cam footage. The woman running down a hallway, carrying a child. Alarms blaring. Guards chasing. Then a flash. A scream. A fall. The child dropped. Rolled. Crawled. Alone. Zoya looked away. Her lips trembled, but no tears came. "They said she died trying to save me," she said. "But I don't remember her face." "You do now," Armin replied gently. But Zoya's face hardened. "I remember them better. The ones who watched. Who timed how long I cried before giving up." She stood. "They made me forget her." Armin saw it then. The shift. Zoya wasn't just running anymore. She was awakening. She closed the laptop and looked at him. "I need to go back." "What?" "To where it started," she said. "To where I was erased." "Zoya, no. They'll be waiting." "I know." "Then why?" "Because I need to take her back." "Who?" She looked him straight in the eyes. "My mother." It was the first time she'd called anyone that. The next morning, they boarded a stolen motorbike from the mechanic's brother, who owed Armin a favor from the old days. They rode through dusty back roads, under skies that felt too quiet, like the world was holding its breath. The location was on the drive, hidden in the metadata. Just outside the city, a research facility marked as decommissioned. But as they approached, it didn't look abandoned. The gates were freshly painted. Cameras still blinked red. And the silence felt engineered. They parked far and walked the rest of the way, hiding behind trees and broken fencing. "Are you sure about this?" Armin whispered. Zoya didn't answer. She just walked, like the earth itself had drawn a path for her. Inside the main building, the air was cold, mechanical, empty hallways, no signs of life. Until they reached the elevator. It opened before they pressed anything. She stepped in. He followed. No buttons. Just motion. Down. And down. And down. Until the doors opened into a hallway filled with mirrors. Not glass. Screens. Each screen showing her, from different ages, different angles. Playing with blocks. Solving math. Crying. Sleeping. Zoya stared at them all. "They watched everything," she said. Armin tried to cover one screen, but she stopped him. "No. Let me see what they stole." They moved deeper. And then, at the end of the hallway, a single glass room. Inside, nothing but a chair. And in it, the man in the black coat. The same one from the bus. He didn't look surprised to see them. "I knew you'd come," he said. Zoya didn't flinch. "Where is she?" He smiled softly. "I wasn't lying. She died saving you." Zoya stepped forward. "But what did you save from her? What did you take?" He stood slowly. "Her mind." Armin grabbed Zoya's hand. "What the hell does that mean?" She uploaded fragments of her memory. hoping one day you'd come find them. Zoya's breath caught. The man pointed to a console in the corner. Plug in the drive. It'll unlock what she left for you. Zoya hesitated. Why help now? The man looked tired. Because I stayed behind to protect you. And I failed. I watched you sleep in garbage. I watched you suffer. It broke me. Armin didn't trust him. But he didn't stop her. Zoya walked to the console. Inserted the drive. The screens flickered. Then, her mother's face. Not video. Not photo. A message. Zoya, if you're seeing this, they couldn't keep you caged. I knew you'd find me. I don't have long. They're watching even now. But listen, you're more than what they made you. You are what I loved into being. Zoya's hands trembled. You are not an experiment. You are my daughter. My fight. My hope. The message ended. The screens went black. Zoya dropped to her knees. Not from pain. From release. Armin crouched beside her. You okay? He whispered. She nodded through a tear that finally broke free. I'm not broken, she said. No, Armin whispered back. You never were. But just then, the walls shook. Sirens blared. And a cold voice echoed overhead. Unauthorized access detected. Lockdown initiated. Zoya stood. And for the first time she smiled. Let them come. The alarms didn't stop. Red lights pulsed through the hallways like veins of panic, and metal doors slammed down behind them with thundering finality. Armin reached for Zoya's hand. But she was already moving. Not running. Not flinching. Walking straight into the belly of the place that once caged her. The man in the black coat followed closely behind, voice low, tense. They'll try to neutralize you. Zoya didn't stop. Let them try. You don't understand. These aren't security guards. They're trained to eliminate threats without hesitation. She turned her head, her voice calm. Then I'll give them something to hesitate about. The corridor split into two. From the left came the sound of heavy boots. Orders barked. From the right, silence. But too clean to be safe. Zoya pointed left. They expect us to hide. So we walk right through. Armin's pulse pounded. That's suicide. She turned to him. Her eyes weren't scared. They were clear. This is home field, Armin. They designed this place for people like me, but they forgot one thing. What? I'm not like the others. Without waiting for an answer, she stepped forward. 10 seconds later, they were spotted. Target located. Red lasers danced across her chest. Hands up. Down on the floor. No. She raised her hands slowly, then whispered, cover your ears. Armin obeyed. A small copper sphere rolled from her sleeve and hit the floor between the guards. No one noticed. Until it detonated with a sharp, high-pitched pulse, not explosive. Disruptive. Screams. Weapons dropped. Comms fried. Ears bled. Zoya grabbed Armin's hand and ran past the disoriented men before they could even process what hit them. EM burst, she explained breathlessly. Makes tech blind for 90 seconds. You built that. From trash, she replied. Can't kill. Just balances the game. They reached a locked door. Steel. Biometric. Zoya placed her palm on the scanner. Access denied. The computer chirped. She didn't blink. You still think I'm who they built, she muttered and reached into her pocket for the flash drive. Plugged it into the panel. The screen flickered and then changed. Welcome, Zoya Roy. Armin gasped. You're in the system. I am the system, she said softly. The door hissed open. Inside, cold white walls, humming machines, and a chamber that looked like it hadn't been entered in years. Zoya stepped in. On the far side of the room, a single glowing pillar. Inside it, a sealed core. And floating in that core, a silver cube, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. Armin stared. What is that? The man in the coat finally spoke. That's the archive. The original data set. Every subject. Every scan. Every manipulation. Everything they ever did, to her, to others. Zoya moved closer. If I take it, they'll lose it all? Yes. And if I destroy it? The man paused. They'll hunt you forever. She smiled, faint. They already do. A sudden voice echoed from the walls. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Zoya froze. Not because of the words, because of the voice. She turned toward the screen above the pillar. A face appeared. Polished. Cold. Calculated. Dr. Varun Mehta, the man in the coat, growled. Still playing God? Zoya stared. You're the one who ordered it. Who signed the papers? Mehta nodded. I gave you purpose. No, she said. You stole mine. He leaned forward. You're a weapon. You always were. Your mind wasn't built for books or poems or sunsets. It was built for precision. Power. Control. She shook her head slowly. You think what I remember defines me. But what I choose to do now, that's who I am. He smirked. Then choose wisely. That cube holds every trace of your past. Destroy it, and you kill your mother's research. Armin stepped in. You mean the research you stole from her? You think she did this alone? Mehta snapped. She worked with us. Until she broke. Until she chose love over progress. She chose me, Zoya said. He didn't answer. Just stared. Zoya turned to the core. Her reflection stared back, a little girl in a woman's body. A genius. A weapon. A daughter. She took a breath. And pulled the cube out. Sirens screamed. Mehta's face disappeared. Gas filled the chamber. Geo, the man in the coat, shouted, smashing the emergency release. They ran through halls filled with chaos, guards fighting glitching tech, systems shorting, power failing. They burst through the outer gates just as the facility collapsed behind them, the kind of destruction no one would ever report, because no one outside was allowed to know it existed. They ran until there was nothing left but trees, sky, and silence. Zoya fell to her knees, gasping. Armin sat beside her, clutching her shoulders. You did it, he whispered. She didn't speak, just held the cube in her hand. And then crushed it. Metal bent. Lights died. The past gone. Forever. Armin was stunned. Why? She looked up at the sky. Because I don't need their data to define me. I don't need their files to prove I'm real. She looked at him, really looked. You did that the day you saw me on the street, and didn't look away. He couldn't speak. Didn't need to. The man in the coat stepped forward. You're free now. No, Zoya replied, standing. I'm finally starting. She turned to Armin. You saved me once. He smiled. You saved me back. No, she said. Now I'm going to save others. He paused. What do you mean? There were others, remember, she said. Kids like me. Hidden. Abandoned. Brilliant. She looked at the horizon. They think they erased us. But I remember now. All of them. She reached for Armin's hand. Let's go find them. And without another word, they walked into the sunrise. No titles. No credits. Just two souls, one broken, one rebuilt. Setting out to fix a world that didn't even know it was bleeding. Sometimes the world tries to label you broken, unwanted, dangerous, just because it fears what it cannot control. But your past does not define you. Your choices do. Zoya wasn't just a genius. She was a girl who chose love over revenge, truth over fear, and purpose over pain. She proved that even the most damaged beginnings can lead to powerful, world-changing destinies if someone dares to believe and dares to rise. You are not what they made you. You are what you decide to become.